Hi everyone, this is Smriti. Welcome to QA automation classes. So today we are going to start with the relative locators. Okay. So what exactly are the relative locators? Okay. So if you want to understand the relative locators, let's go to selenium.dev. Okay. So here if you go, this is the official website of the Selenium, and we can go to the documentation, right? And just locating techniques, these are all the WebDriver related stuff. So go to the WebDriver. Here you can see version 4.0, right? So 4.0 plus unless otherwise indicated. Okay, so this is good. We are working with Selenium 4. Now let's go to the different locating techniques, right? So let's see web element. Okay, so go to elements. Okay, and here locator strategies. Okay, here if you see, these are the traditional locator: class name, css, id, name, link text, parcel link text, tag name, and xpath. We have completed all of them. Even css, xpath, recently we completed the css, right? So now scroll down. Okay, so scroll down. Okay, relative locators. Okay, so okay, so relative locators. So what are these relative locators? Okay, so relative locators, Selenium 4 introduced the relative locators, previously called as the friendly locators. Earlier they were named as friendly locators, now they are called as the relative locators. And these locators are useful when it is not easy to construct a locator for the desired element, but easy to describe spatially where the element is in relation to an element that does have an easily constructed locator. So let's say there are like multiple elements on the web page, right? So suppose this is the case: email, password, cancel, submit. Okay, so let's say the password is a dynamic field one, right? So you cannot possibly directly write the xpath or the css for the password. Okay, so in that case what you will do? So in that case, if this is a email address is a object web element for which you can directly write the locators, maybe xpath or css, whatever. So you design for it, and then we can use this relative locators. So that means with respect to email address, we are going to identify the password field, right? With respect to submit button, we are going to identify cancel. With respect to cancel button, we are going to identify submit. Whatever is the constant, we'll use that. In relation to that, we can jump to the different different web element. Okay, so what are the different way of using the relative locators? We can say above, we can say below, and there is left of, there is right of, and there is near. Okay, so these are the ways through which we can create the relative locators. We can use the relative locators. Okay, so in this session, let's look into the above and let's look into the below. Okay, so for this one, I think okay, so there is something called as the relative locator class. Okay, this is what we need to see. Okay, so let's see some real example. So let's start the IntelliJ. Okay, so IntelliJ is open. So now let's say new Java class. Okay, so what we're going to use, we can say for above and below we can have one class. Okay, so let's say this is relative locator above or something, we can say. Okay, new class relative locator above. Okay, so this is the class we are creating. Okay, so now let's open an application where we'll use this example. Okay, so let's say we'll go to the that internet.heroku app, internet.heroku app. Okay, so let's say basically login, where we have a login. The internet.heroku.com. Okay, /login. So it will take you to the login page. Okay, so in the page, here in the login page, if you see, there is username, there is password, and there is login. Three things are there. Okay, so now let's say we are going to password text field using the login button. Okay, so we are going to identify the password text field using the login button. So this is the case of the above, right? So we are going to see the above and below in this session. So using the login, above the login password field is there. So let's say this is a dynamic field. Okay, so above the using this above keyword, we are going to identify the password with the help of the login. Okay, so login is not going to change, it is a constant, it doesn't change, so we can identify login easily. With that let's identify the password field. Okay, so how to do that? So let's write the program here. Okay, so main. Okay, so now what to write? Okay, so first we have to write our driver. Okay, so with driver equals to driver equals to new Chrome driver. Okay, so and we're using Selenium 4. We don't have to use the WebDriver manager, so Selenium manager is going to take care of this WebDriver Chrome driver. Okay, and let's open this URL driver dot get. Okay, so string URL, let's copy the URL from here, the login URL. Okay, the page is going to get opened. So after the page is opened, we can maximize the window, driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. Okay, so now window is also maximized, and then we have to find element. Okay, so driver dot find element. Okay, so by something you have to write. Okay, so instead of by, okay, so we have to use the relative locator here, right? So instead of directly going with the by, you will say relative locators. Okay, so let's see relative locator. This is a class. Okay, you can see relative class. So what exactly is the relative locator class, right? So public class relative locator. Okay, so now if you see, this is a relative locator class. Okay, so now that's okay. So now relative locator, and how to use that? With writing that relative locator, you will say with. Okay, relative locator with, and after that you can say by. Let's say by dot, let's say here for the password we are trying to see, this is constant here. Okay, it doesn't change. Okay, so I'm saying if there is a scenario where it is changing, then in that case we can use. So here if you see input type equals to password, and we can go with the ID equals to password. I'll do like this, and after that I'll show you other way also. By dot ID. Okay, so let's give the ID. See, if I do this much only also, it will be able to identify. Okay, because this ID is constant for this password. Okay, it is not changing. Okay, but here what I'm going to do, so with by dot I password. Okay, so after that we'll say dot. Okay, so above. Okay, dot. Okay, so above. Okay, and in the above you have to give the XPath. Okay, above, and by dot we can identify the XPath by XPath. So what XPath we are going to give? We are going to give the XPath of the login button. What is the XPath for this login button, right? So if you see button class equals to right, yes. Okay, so control F. Okay, so / button. Okay, and you will say class equals to radius. Okay, radius. Okay, so this is what you will say. So let's go and put it here. This is the XPath. Okay, fine. So what we did, driver dot manage that window dot maximize. Okay, this is done. Next line, driver dot find element. So you will use relative locator dot with you have to use. Okay, relative locator with, and then you give the whatever you have constant for that varying field, right? So, or the dynamic field. So here you can say, here I have given id because id is there, but when it is a dynamic field, so id, name, or whatever backend attribute will be there, those will be changing. Only the html tag will remain constant, but the values inside that will be changing. Okay, so here since we have the id I have given, but I'll see how to give the html tag and how to do that, that we'll see in the next example. But here if you see above, and then you say this, right? And then we have to send keys. Let's say we have to pass the send keys. Okay, so let's say keys password field, I'm saying a b c d e f g h something. Okay, right? So now this is going to be get inputted into that password field. Okay, so now we can try running this one to run. So if you see, it has been imported that relative locator class. Okay, okay, Chrome driver, opening the internet, and then yes, if you see, it has inputted that abcdef whatever we have given in the password text box. So here, see, it will work in this case if I don't go with this one also, right? Why? Because if you see, this is a valid thing that is already been present password, right? But now let's say, let us assume the things are getting changing here. Okay, so if you see, what is that password? Okay, input type equals to password. Okay, this is constant. Name equals to password abcd, id equals to password 123. Every time you load the page, it changes. What would you do? You cannot do anything. So in that case, what to do? So since we can see only the input type is constant, then we can use that one. We can use the, let's go with the tag name. Okay, so we can rewrite this one like this. Okay, this one I'll comment it out. Okay, okay, so now by, instead of id, okay, we'll say, there is an option called as the tag name. So what is the tag name? Here the tag name is nothing but, let's see, it's the input, right? So if you see input is the tag name. So now let's put the input as the tag name. Okay, by the tag name input, and then after that you put dot ever by xpath or whatever, or by css, whatever you are able to do, and then do the operation. Okay, so now if you see, if I run this one, maximize, okay, see, it is able to do that. See, the input tag will always remain constant, it cannot change. Okay, within that, the attribute whatever they're defining for a particular web element, that might change, right? So that's how you will do it. So the next example, we'll see the relative locator below. So the relative locator below. Okay, below another example. Okay, so same thing, we'll go to the same application. Okay, so now we have to identify the password field using the username field. Okay, because password is below username field, that means whatever you are identifying, that should be a variable field. Okay, so other related field should be a constant field. Okay, so now the, let's say, assume the username is a valid. Okay, so like constant field, password is changing. So in this case, what you will do? So first you will again do the similar fashion, right? And okay, so now you will say driver dot find element by relative locator. Where is my IntelliJ? Okay, so now let me get, okay, relative locator. Okay, here we can go with the by the tag name input. Okay, because everything else for the password is variable, we have assumed that. And then instead of ever, we'll say below. Okay, below what? We have to give the xpath or the css for the username field. Okay, so let's see, for username, id or something, whatever is there. Okay, so name is there, id is there, so let's go with the some css this time. Okay, so let's say input. Okay, uh, hash. What is the id? Id is username, right? Id is username. Input hash username. Okay, so now give this one. So now I can say by css selector. Okay, so what is the css selector? You give here. This is the css selector, and then send keys. Okay, awesome. So now let's run this one. This is below. Okay, let me close this one. Okay, this is mine. Okay, fine, should be okay. So run relative locator main. Okay, so now the below one should get with respect to this one. Okay, what is this username? We should identify its below tag input, that is password tag, and then we should do some send keys to that text box. See, okay, so it's how you will write above and below. Okay, so using the relative locators. So that's all to this class, guys. If you guys are really enjoying, I'll request you to subscribe to my channel Q Automation Classes, and if you guys have any doubt, then please put them in the comment section. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.